artists are a mirror to the society. प्यासी हूं मैं तुमको पिला के, थक गई मैं मोड़ों पे रुक के, अश्क तो बहने दो, पानी हूं पानी रहने दो. When we say folk rock, it's not like we've taken folk music and mixed it with rock. Twin Daffodils is actually the preludes to Swarathma.
Where do we really belong? We come from many places. There are a lot of people claim us, but where do we feel like we fit?
An idea. Okay, what is the river actually feeling? What does a mother feel when her own children are fighting about how much of her part they should have?
Why is folk music visually so colorful?
So the music and what we wear should go hand in hand, which is very colorful, very celebratory. The whole show we got paid some 10,000 or something. I have like auto, biscuit, tea, all those expenses written, and at the end of it, we had like 750 rupees for each one of us. It was mostly non-Indian audience that we were playing to, and people were going mad. They had never heard something like that. We don't have to really say, okay, now we need to focus on Gen Z. Now we need to focus on this and that. And we tried some things and we failed miserably. We found ourselves so fake. This was the first time where a band has attempted to say, okay, we're going to do a tour which will be solar powered. To manage the band and to have a vision on the financial aspect, even when COVID hit, the band was actually supporting all the band members.
Namaste and welcome to Music Mehfil India. For those of you who are new here, I'm Aruna Jade, your host, and Music Mehfil India is a channel where we are attempting to tell you the stories of music from India. We cover the Indian music verse, where we talk about the people, their organizations, their projects, bands, and most importantly, their music. Folk music has been an integral part of music that comes out of India. But the last 2 decades have been extremely interesting as folk music has started coming into the mainstream music as well, and it has gained tremendous popularity in terms of live performance. And today with us, we have Vasu Dixit, who is the frontman of the popular folk rock band Swarathma. Welcome, Vasu. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to do this episode with you. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for making me part of your journey of these podcasts. It's absolute pleasure to actually talk to another fellow musician about my musical journey. So, hoping to have a good jam today.
Okay, so we all have been listening to Swarathma for so many years now. You've performed quite a few times in Bombay as well. And so you've been making and performing folk music for over 2 decades now. First through Swarathma, and now you also have Vasu Dixit Collective. So tell me, how did you get into folk music in particular?
I come from Mysore, and Mysore is a very culturally rich place. Whether you like it or not, there is an exposure to music, dance, theater, literature, and of course, it's a great place to study as well, with lesser distraction compared to a place like Bangalore or Mumbai. It's a small town, so easy to go from one place to another. So you have a lot of time also on hand. So when we were kids, you come from school, then you're put into some or the other class of learning either shlokas or some instrument or music, anything that is culturally enhancing the child to grow with. That was the idea. So I was also put into a music class, and actually I didn't like it very much because all the other fellow students were all girls in the class. So weekly twice or thrice I would go to the class, and I would miss playing cricket with my other boys of my age. The whole credit of having a folk influence comes from Mysore, and After my schooling, I was part of a theater group. And when you are in a
Hmm.
theater space, you are exposed to the folk culture as well, so
Yeah.
uh, that was my introduction to folk music. And at that point in time also, my throat was like they say, cracking, and your throat is opening
Hmm.
up. So folk
Yeah.
music had a very free and open throated singing that gave me much freedom and joy to sing with.
So you mentioned we were exposed. So is this like do you come from a musical family, and the lessons that you attended, were they Carnatic music lessons?
Yes. So my mother was a Carnatic singer, and
Uh-huh.
she would, not professionally, but every Sunday she would open her tambura and then sit in the hall and sing. We would just be like running around and listening it from far. Of course, she would force us also to sing with her, to practice with her. But as growing children, you find these things not so enticing as much as going out
Hmm.
and playing in the sun. So she was the one who was very interested. My father was a very good listener and follower of music, though he was not a singer himself. But
Uh-huh.
he wanted us. He was the one who pushed both me and my brother into music. In fact, my
Hmm.
father saw my brother dance with one of my cousins, and then he pushed him to get into dance, and that's how he got into dance and music. I was always
Hmm.
interested in painting and also in music, and of course sports. So
Hmm.
yeah, so nobody was like a professional musician until
Hmm.
my brother Raghu Dikshit. He
Hmm.
found a passion in for himself in music, and
Hmm.
he took it up as a professional career in music. So he was the one who kind of broke the path. But from
Hmm.
school, I was very clear that I wanted to be an artist, actually. And
Hmm.
after school, I just went and joined an art college, and there my mind and heart opened up into the art world. And music was always there,
Hmm.
and music was like another, I would say, medium of expression for me. And it was not like I wanted to be a musician. So
Yeah.
always felt joy in singing, performing. And even in school, I used to be part of play,
Hmm. Hmm.
dance, singing. So in school days, I would be at least part of like some two or three different events. I would
Yeah.
be in dance and theater
Uh,
and music and
High
all
on
of it.
extracurriculars.
Yes,
Yeah.
always high.
So, how old were you when you started your project Twin Daffodils?
Ah, so the Twin Daffodils is actually the prelude to Swarathma. Myself
Mm-hmm.
and another friend, Abhinand Kumar,
Mm-hmm.
he was also from Mysore, and we both met for a music concert where I was supposed to fill in for a singer who was not there. So
Uh-huh.
I met him then, and then somehow that show didn't happen, and then I showed them some of my own songs, and that's when Abhi was like, "Hey, your original songs are something that we should work more on." And
Hmm.
so we started jamming, and that's how we got together. He loved whatever I was creating. He was also kind of bored with all the covers that they were doing.
How old were you guys?
I must have been around 21, no, yeah, 21, 2021.
21. Okay.
And then that's when we met another junior of mine, who kind of jammed playing on the desk. So we used to call him the tabla player. Yeah. So we said, "Can you actually play on a percussion instead of the table?"
Hmm.
He said, "Yeah." And then we just did. So before start of Swarathma, it was just me and Abhi named it Twin Daffodils because
Huh.
for whatever reasons, and I didn't even know what are daffodils. So we just like used to go to some college wherever there's an event, go just the two of us and ask there, can we play like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like whatever chance that we would get. So it was just that. And of course, then, like I said, another person joined us, and then that's when we started jamming with a few more musicians, and we called our band Swarathma. And again, the credit goes to Abhinand for naming it, because he felt a band name should not just be cool but should mean what we are.
I can see how, you meeting Abhi was really important, because very early on he decided that your original music is something that should be the focus, which is not that common, if you ask me.
And especially 20 years back, when
Yeah.
making original music was nowhere in the scene. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So that was a very good call. So, I mean, can you speak more to about the social issues that you have written about in your songs, and how has that aligned with some of the real-time social movements, and how that came about? Like, why did you feel so strongly that you should do certain things?
when I joined the fine art college, my one of my teachers used to say that, when you are an artist, you are no longer just creating art for yourself. Artists are a mirror to the society. Artists are a reflection of what the society is. Like if you look at the film, for example, it is a big canvas and big mirror to the whole society of where we are. Like every era, like if you take 80s films, 90s films, and then 2000 and onwards, there is a change in how the film is made.
Correct. Yeah.
And what are the kind of stories that we tell, and what are the impressions that we are creating, what kind of violence do we show in films. Like Sholay is definitely one of the biggest violent film in that sense. But if you see that,
Yeah.
you are not disturbed by the violence, the way of showing it also. So it reflected a way the mind of the society was at that time. So my teacher would always say that artists are mirror holders of the society. So you also come with a responsibility of what you want to show to the world. So do you want to just reflect only about you and show it to the world, or do you want to reflect also about the society and to the society? That's the
Yeah.
thing. So that it's a stance that you take as an artist, what you want to reflect. So I always felt that there is more than just personal expression. Like just to write about love songs or breakups and stuff was never something that I really felt very connected to. Something that really is shown around and happening around us that affects us, and then are we able to reflect that in our art, was the question. But for that to affect us, you also have to be little vulnerable. Like for example, whatever's happening around the world, like the war in Syria, the Palestine issues, are we even opening ourselves to be affected by it, or are we too closed to not be affected? So only when you let something affect you within, you will be able to reflect that. So that's been the subconscious thought. It's not like conscious that, oh, I'm going and looking for issues that I want to write about.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Can you elaborate more around why you created Pyasi, and what was the actual issue that inspired that?
Yeah. Every year we would see that there is a Kaveri River dispute, and there are riots, there are fights, there are political disputes, and many a times we used to get holidays in school because there was riots, and then we would wonder why are people really fighting about it like that when there is plenty of water everywhere. Because in Mysore we were never scares of anything. Like there are trees, there are fields, clean air and water. And that's why if you go to Mysore, you will see people are little laid back. Like, shops open
Hmm.
only after like 11 o'clock. And then
Yeah,
afternoon, we
yeah.
have a siesta. We just, after
Hmm.
lunch, we take a nap, then come back again in the evening, and then
Yeah.
sleep very early. There's no nightlife, and everybody knows
Hmm.
everyone. So we are
Hmm.
like, there is so much abundance in life, why are people fighting? So it was little hard for us,
Correct.
but we understand that the other part of the world is not the same. So there is
Hmm.
somewhere else people are also deprived of these natural resources. So
Hmm.
one of the days when I was in college, I was traveling from Mysore. I used to travel from Bangalore to Mysore for my work, post college actually. So
Hmm.
there was a conversation between one old lady and few young men about um, who does this water belong to, or how much water
Hmm.
should one have. So the young men were with the opinion that they are agriculturists and the water belongs to them and they should have control over it. And the old lady was like, but do you know that water is mother, and you should just let her flow, and river should never be like captivated and stuff like that. So the conversation went on for a while and it was quite entertaining. And at the end of the trip, the old lady was getting down, and before she got down, she said, we all can keep fighting, but have you ever thought of what the river is feeling? And that
Hmm.
gave me the an idea to say, okay, what is the
Hmm.
river actually feeling? What does a mother feel when her own children are fighting about how much of her part they should have? So
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that is, in fact, just when I got down from the train, I had these two lines um,
Hmm.
coming in my mind, which is like, प्यासी हूं मैं तुमको पिला के, थक गई मैं मोड़ों पे रुक के, अश्क तो बहने दो, पानी हूं पानी रहने दो. These are like um, an idea that came, and little later I had gone to NID. um, that's where I met another senior of mine, Hitesh Kevalia, and he helped me complete the song. And he wrote the song, and I shared the idea with him. And yeah, that was the whole story behind Pyasi, about how it came in. And again, the I would still think the this kind of a process of to be open, to be
Hmm.
available for some things to affect you, and then you channelize that to be expressed with your art, is something that I learned, or I was exposed to when I was in the art school.
What is one such social issue you deeply feel about these days?
I have been thinking of belonging, you know, of where one belonging, one is to the self, in the sense, where
Yeah.
do we belong? One is the vertical belonging, whom do we
Yeah.
belong to? One is, of course, the
Hmm.
body that we belong to, but there is also, from here, there is another belonging,
Hmm.
that you have, a connection that you have. So that is
Right.
one belonging. The other one is about belonging to people around us. Like, one
Hmm.
is the family, the close people that you live with. The other is the society, the like close friends and society. And hence, whom do we actually belong to? Are we like Kannadigas? Are we Indians? Are we whatever? And and the
Yeah.
and the global belonging, and the belonging also is about how much are we connected to the earth, how much are we connected to the cosmic, in that sense. So that that has been my my quest
Mm.
of late, I say.
Lovely. Lovely. Now, I don't think many people know this, but even my name Aruna Jade is coming from a place of what you spoke about belonging. It's it emerged from a time when I had severe identity crisis, and I felt like I belonged nowhere. And in an attempt to save myself, that name emerged, and it's my name and a nickname combined. Uh,
Oh,
but yeah, I resonate with that a lot too. With the where do we really belong? We come from many places. There are a lot of people claim us,
yeah,
religions, territories, families. But where do we feel like we fit?
true.
Very interesting. I hope to hear some great music coming out of that theme.
Let's
Um,
see.
what was your first international show as part of Swarathma? Like, how old were you? What year was that in? And how old was the band by the time you made it international?
Yeah, I think the first international tour that we did was to the UK, and we
Hmm.
were. I must have been around 28 around that time, and we were part of a national young talent hunt by the British Council, and it was called Launchpad.
Ah.
So they brought in John Leckie, one of the independent music producers, and he has worked with some of the best bands across the world. And he came to India, and we went for the audition. He really liked us, and then we were selected, and we were one of the four bands that went from India to the UK. So that was our, I think, the first trip that we did, and it was brilliant to be traveling with the four other music bands. And yeah, it was
Hmm.
really fun to be able to represent young India at that time, and share our music with the rest of the world when there was no other medium, or like our social media or
Yeah.
Facebook or any of that. We went and played the same music that we were doing, and it was mostly non-Indian audience that we were playing to, and people were going mad. People were going like crazy about how does Indian folk music sound. They had never heard something like that, or never seen
Hmm.
um, you know us performing. I would also use this godi, which is the kachi godi, the paper mache
Yeah.
godi, and we took that all the way,
Yeah.
and we performed with it, and people were going berserk about how it was. So it was really nice to have that exposure at that point in time. We had a tour bus all for ourselves with bunker beds and toilets and video games inside the bus. So it was like an experience that we would really keep that for a very, very long time. Yeah.
Right. And how did your costume and the props and how did that come together? Was that always part of the plan, or is it something you guys decided as a band, or was it like a light bulb moment?
I would say it again goes back to my theater experience and influence, that when you
Okay.
go out to perform on stage, you are representing a character. You become a character
Hmm.
that you are performing. So to have a visual identity as a character is
Hmm.
important. And also, if you look at our own traditional music and dance
Hmm.
forms, in our olden times there wouldn't be like lighting and focused light and stuff like that, so they would wear bright clothes, and that became part of the performance, so that people at the far
Hmm.
also can
Right.
see. And the kind of music that we play should reflect even visually, so we are
Right.
playing folk rock, which is like, when we say folk rock, it's not like we've taken folk music and mixed it with rock, but
Correct.
taking elements of folk music and adding elements
Mm-hmm.
of rock, blues, reggae, and many other genres, and then
Right.
presenting it in our own way. But just to call it something. We called it folk rock because it sounded cool also. So yeah, so the music and what we wear should go hand in hand, which is very colorful, very celebratory, but also at the same time we will wear sneakers like Converse shoes, and somebody's wearing
Right.
a pant and yet like some colorful top. So it's like a mix of
Yeah.
many worlds coming together, even in our visual identity. That was the whole idea of wearing these colorful
Yeah.
costumes.
But that bit was really interesting. That why is folk music visually so colorful? It's because in the earlier times they did not have that much equipment or technology that people from far should be able to see.
Yeah, like if you see our Indian classical dance, for that matter, like you
Yeah.
will see that they will wear colors even on their hand. Like when they do the mudra, when they do
Correct.
all those, it should be enhanced
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like if you take even our garba, like Gujarati dance, but they all wear colorful and coordinated costumes so that when they all come together, it looks nice. So it is part of,
Yeah.
it has become part of our culture, but this is also a representation of um, coping with what is available at that time.
What has your experience been attempting solar powered gigs? Yeah.
The solar powered gigs that we recently did was part of our album tour called Roshan. And we happened to do a show with this organization called Selco Foundation, who work with solar power in small scale industries, like the hay cutting machines for farmers, or chili powder pounding machines and stuff like that. These are actually heavy powered machines, and they wanted us to make a song for the organization based on the power of the sun and stuff like that. So when we were interacting with them, and then we visited some of the places where they were actually doing these things, we said, isn't it great if we can find a way to power our shows through solar energy? And they said, okay, why don't we try it out? And they actually went ahead, did the research, and came up with the plan to say, okay, we will build a truck which will have solar powered batteries, which will travel to place where you're going to perform, and then your whole show can be powered. So that's how the conversation started. And Jishnu Das Gupta, the bass guitarist from our band, took up the whole project on his shoulders to say, okay, let me try it out. And then all credit to him that he actually brought it into actual functioning system. And we we are still working on our album called Roshan. And then the first song that we had, Roshan, kind of resonated with solar power, which is Roshan is like brightening or light, for that matter. So we said, okay, this goes well, rings a bell, that's a Roshan tour powered by the sun. So that's how it was. And of course, we know that it is not the solution for a sustainable energy.
Yeah.
We are not boasting to say that this is the only way that we can actually do, because this was the first time where a band has attempted to say, okay, we are going to do a tour which will be solar powered. So we are not saying that we have completely eradicated any fossil fuel, because when we have to move these huge batteries, we are still using a truck to move it from one place to another. We still flew in the aeroplanes, and then we can't say that we have completely reduced it. But if we can have more of these solar powered plants in different cities,
Yeah.
then we can definitely reduce the whole thing. Then we can we need not carry it everywhere. Then these batteries can be powered there at that particular city and it can be used. And in fact, the organization has been getting a lot of offers from different people to say, now can we have our events powered by this? So it's a great thing. And we were ourselves not very sure. In fact, the very first show that we did, the power was used for only the speakers. The second show that we did, we said, okay, now can we try using the power also for the LED? And we said, okay, that's happening. And the third show that we did, we actually used the lights, LED, and the sound completely powered, and it worked. We did it outdoor, we did it in a bar, we did it in an auditorium. So anywhere it is possible, as long as you can bring the truck close to 100 meters from the area of performance. So anyway, most often than not, you're using a generator van. And a generator van, a typical generator van, uses around 250 liters of diesel every show to run the show. So we have actually reduced that. We have found an alternate for the 250 liters of diesel. So hopefully there will be more solar powered plants, and this system can be used more often. Of course, there are challenges of whether these batteries are by themselves, are they sustainable, are they recyclable? These are solutions that we still have to find. Of course, there will be issues and problems with every solution that you want to bring. There is no one real greatest solution for everything, but we only can see how much less harm we can do to this earth. So this is one step towards it. We have found it, made it possible. We also collaborated with a few other organizations who are into recycling material. Like, for example, there was a group in Bangalore called Hasiru Dala. We collaborated with them. When we do the show, they collect all the garbage that is generated of that show and they segregate and send it for recycling. So as a band, we have also been very conscious and cautious of what we also do as individuals. Like, for example, we have started practice of not taking those plastic bottles on stage. Like, we don't use the plastic bottle. We take our own water bottles and we ask for a can, refilling can in the green room. If we fill that, so even as individuals, we have to make that change, and only then it will reflect in smaller groups and society, and hence as a race, as a human being, as a race, we can try to see if we can make that change in the long term.
You already had a good momentum with Swarathma. So how did Vasu Dixit Collective come about, and what was the need or aspiration with that project?
Yeah, like I said, Swarathma, it been more than 2002 is when I had started, and around 2017 is when I started my collective. It was not because of my own need, but it was also one of my friends. She requested me to curate a set of songs that are more, what do I say, insightful, songs that are more spiritually inclined, because she wanted to do a show in remembrance of her late husband. And I collaborated with two other musicians to kind of actually scratch through my old library of songs that I have either written or things that I have learned from childhood, which are not part of my band, like which are not part of Swarathma. So I kind of went through those songs, and then we jammed, and then we performed, and the response was quite nice. And even for me, it was very reflective that, oh man, there are so many other songs that I have which haven't found its voice. which haven't found the light
Hmm.
of the day. I said maybe I should try this more. I mean, I somehow managed to have enough songs to pull through in that particular show. Like we played like some
Hmm.
6 8 song, but that gave me an idea that, oh, there are more songs that I should explore. And that's how I started. um, Coincidentally, at that time I also got a message from one person on Facebook, and then he said,
Hmm.
Anna, I've written this song. Would you like to put a tune to it? And then he sent, it was a song about mother. It's called Amma. And I jammed on that song, and then I recorded. I felt very nice that, oh, I can do some songs that are also outside band. And that's how it started. And I met few other, like, musicians, um, who really like to collaborate and work on these songs. And that's how it started. And I didn't want to make another band. That's why I called it Vasu Dixit
Hmm.
Collective, where I'm also more flexible on how I want to do, and whether it will be a two-piece band, three-piece band, five-piece, or even 10 members coming in. So I had,
Yeah.
like, in fact, I recorded a set of like 4 5 songs, all live recording with 5 piece string section, 3 piece horn section. We were like 19 people on stage, and I recorded all of them live. And
Mm.
this
Wow.
was around 2017, and I really explored some new songs that I had written at that point in time. So it was really creatively enriching for me to break away from the
Hmm.
4 5 piece band structure than try something really new. So that gave
Hmm.
me a very refreshing creative satisfaction. And that's
Hmm.
how I started the band. And 2018 or 19, I think. When was COVID? 2019? 19 or
Two-
20?
2000, yeah, end of
Yeah,
2019, so 2020 and 21.
yeah. So I released my album just a
Um,
year before that. And
yeah.
then of course COVID hit, and I had to kind
Yeah.
of reform the band. And post COVID, I wanted to try. I wanted to change my sound to something different, and that's how I met few other musicians who were into electronic
Hmm.
um, sphere of music. And I said yes, now, because sound wise I was still around the same, like, drum, bass, guitar, but
Yeah.
other elements coming in, other elements of harmonium and saxophone. But the base of how the sound was still the same, like Swarathma. So I wanted
Yeah.
to also explore, change, fail, and reform my sound for myself. And then I said, can we try something which is little more compact in that sense? So it was just a 3 piece band, like 3 members, me and 2 other guys.
Hmm.
So they would use a lot of these gadgets like the synth, the laptop, iPad,
Yeah.
drum machine, and all of these
Hmm.
stuff. And I said, wow, I mean, I was thrilled to find a new sound. The same kind of
Hmm.
songs, which is again like folk based. um, and I would sing songs of Purandaradasa and Kabir and all of that. But the way we presented was more electronic.
What drew you to the works of Kabir and Purandaradasa?
I think it's just the words through which they were putting in ideas and thoughts of either spiritual or philosophical in nature. I mean, I would, even with Purandaradasa, though he comes from that whole bhakti movement, and he talks a
Yeah.
lot about his surrendering to the Lord and his bhakti to the Lord. I was never so inclined towards that part of it. I was more inclined towards the social issues, the philosophical and spiritual issues. There is a thin line between spiritual and religious. Like when you take
Hmm.
the name of any of the gods, it has a religious context to it. Like if you say Allah, or if you say
Hmm.
Jesus, or Krishna or Rama, it definitely has a religious context than probably what they have experienced in their spiritual quest. So now the context has
Yeah.
also changed a lot. So even when I perform and when I sing, like there is a song called Ragi Tandira, which I sing, and in
Hmm.
which um, Purandaradasa actually says, ರಾಮನಾಮವ ಜಪಿಸುವರಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೇಮದಿ ಕುಣಿ ಕುಣಿದಾಡುವುದರಾಗಿ.
Hmm.
He says, take the name of the Lord. So here he says Rama. But the
Hmm.
problem is when we get so connected and associated just with the name, you know, so but we
Yeah.
forget what is behind the name. So I try to explain even in my shows that Rama is just a name. It's a representation of an energy of, and that energy has different forms in the form of Allah, Yeshu, Buddha, Guru Nanak, or
Is just referring to the
yeah,
divine.
for some people it's their parents who are that form. Whatever is that form, it's fine, but devotion is the most important thing. And he says, if you, in that purest form of devotion, if you take the name, then your whole life will become a dance of love. That's what he
Hmm.
uh, says in those two lines. Through these words of these saint poets, whether it is Purandaradasa, Kabir, or Kanakadasa, or Basavanna, or any of these
Hmm.
saint poets, what is it that they are trying to tell us? In fact, so many people who have written about Kabir, or
Tell.
people who have written about these spiritual
Hmm.
aspects, have written in the name of Kabir
Hmm.
and not put their own
Hmm.
names, but they'll at the end they'll say Kahat Kabir Suno Bhai Sado. It's actually to be not
Hmm.
associated even with what you've created, which is like very difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, this kind of selflessness and to be connected to the highest power is what I found in these words and in their approach towards writing. That is why I like those, and I try to see if I can also somewhere find that path or find that connect through those words.
Did you always have someone to manage Swarathma, or was that something that happened over a time?
Yeah, in the very early stages, we had one of our band members only manage it. Jishnu, who was our
Yeah.
bass guitarist,
Bas-
he
Basically.
also
Hmm.
comes from an MBA background. Before he was doing, I was actually doing all of it. In fact, just few days back, when I was cleaning something, I got my old notebook in which I would write all the accounts, like the whole show we got
Hmm.
paid some 10,000 or something, and then I have like auto, biscuit, tea, all those expenses written, and at the end of it, we had like 750 rupees for each one of us, something like that. So
Oh.
yeah, it was nice to see from there. Today, like yesterday, we had a band meeting, and then we had lunch over the band meeting, and the bill was only for the lunch, it was like few thousand rupees. So from there to where
Yeah.
we are, it's been a journey. To say that um, to manage the band and to have a vision on the
Hmm.
financial aspect is also very very important.
Yeah.
One of the practices that I have always been insistent as a band is to have our own savings, and I proudly say that even when COVID hit, the band was actually supporting all the band members.
So you essentially have a fund wherein some of the monies that are collected through your shows are put aside for Like an emergency
Exactly,
fund.
because most often than not, bands when they come together, and if they get like 1 lakh and there are four of them, they just split and then they go home. I would always say we should have at least like 20% savings from the shows put in as a band, so that we have it as a fund when we have to make our own music video, or when we have to use it when shows are drying up. We have something that the band is constantly supplying us. So that's been the idea. And
Yeah.
also, when you have your saving and your money as a band, there is a sense of belonging also. Again, the question of belonging, there's some energy that you
Yeah.
want to come back to apart from playing music, right? So that's been the idea, and we have been diligently following that even till today. And so initial stages I was managing. Then when Jishnu joined, he became the manager. He is a lot more enterprising than what I am. So, and also to be able to connect to people, to talk to people, to remember, to follow up, it's too much for me. So
Yeah.
he is very good in that. So he took over. And like I was telling about the British Council Soundpad project where we audition, same audition, Vijay Nair, who was part of Only Much Louder OML, was there in the panel
Yeah.
just to watch the bands, and then he really liked us, and he said they would like to manage us. And then we were with them for many years, and again we got Jishnu back to manage us. Then in between we tried another company who would manage us. Some things worked very well with us, some things didn't work, so we again parted ways, and now we are being managed
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So Jishnu is the manager,
Yeah.
and we have other supporting people, like someone to take care of our tour management, someone to take care of all the, like emailing and other stuff. So we have figured out
Yeah.
a system to work within us. For my collective, just now I've started working with Teamworks Arts, so who are very much interested in managing me completely. And we also have, they also have another sister company called Tulsi, with whom there are other online management that they would take over. So yeah, I'm just trying this new way, so that some things are taken care by someone else, then you can focus on the creative aspect.
Right.
And also now a lot of work goes into this whole social media stuff, because putting your stuff to be able to put content regularly, also because now, so the streaming is the only way. Then you have to upload your songs, you have to have an artwork made, you have a lot of other things going into putting your
Yeah.
work out.
You have to have tremendous foresight and plan everything weeks ahead.
There was a time when we used to struggle, and I myself used to struggle, and I figured I'm putting so much energy into this than doing my primary thing, which is to sharpen my skills, to sharpen
Correct.
my
Yeah.
craft as a music maker, as a composer, and creating my songs so much. In fact, the whole of 2004, I have had very less time to come up with new songs. I'm only trying to be able to, in the thick of things, to put out things and make up for that, than creating new songs. So that's a reflection for myself also, to say, hey, what are you here for? What is your primary work? So I think to have a management team who will take care of all these other logistics is very important.
But so for right now, your model is that you are largely self managed, but you are also working with, say, specialists to handle certain
Correct.
tasks.
Like
Okay.
even when you do a
Right.
tour, no, like when you go on shows, it's like from booking your tickets, your cars, your hotel rooms, and then you like whether there is water on stage, so what time the sound check, what's our schedule. If you are so occupied into these things as a performer, then it will affect your performance.
You're distracted.
So you need to have a team who will take care of all these things, and then you are able to focus on your performance. And also, like I said, it's not like we had the team from the beginning. I mean, we have done it ourselves, and we are glad that we did it ourselves, so we know what goes into making it a successful show, what goes into making it a successful album and
Right. Yeah.
release. So it's a good experience to have as well.
How have your marketing strategies evolved?
um, there is no marketing strategy as such. To be very honest, the kind of music that I make or the kind of music that we make as a band doesn't fit into many of the things that happen in the world. I think for us, we also have figured that for us, it's very important to be true to ourselves of what we are. We don't have to really say, okay, now we need to focus on Gen Z, now we need to focus on this and that. And
Yeah.
we tried some
Yeah.
things and
Yeah.
we failed miserably. We found ourselves so fake and so not us that it's very uncomfortable to be in that, to wear those shoes. So we said, let's chuck all these. We don't have to follow any of that. We just need to be ourselves. So like I said, now we have a social media team who help us with the content. We have told you prepare the schedule, you
Yeah.
do whatever, you tell us what we have to do. We'll give you this time. We have to be ourselves. I mean, if we are funny, if we are boring,
Yeah.
if we are pathetic on screen, it's fine. We just have to be ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's been our strategy to be and for all that we have seen, for us to look back at it, we feel comfortable. It doesn't make us feel, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not cringe
Cringe.
for us when we felt that in between when we tried something that was not us. And also through social media, I don't tell too much more than the artistic side of myself. Like sometimes I do some like
Yeah.
series about whatever I see around, but still it is through an artistic expression and not too much about
Not personal.
what I eat and what I'm wearing or the new sunglasses that I bought or and those things. I never really
Yeah.
yeah,
That's not your
that's
brand.
not
Yeah.
me, and I don't want to um, tell too much about myself.
How active are you as a visual content creator or a filmmaker?
Like I said, I studied filmmaking from NID, and I was very much interested in ad filmmaking. But then when I went and I worked in few production houses and stuff, I was disillusioned by what goes into that ad world. So I said, okay, this is not what I want to
Yeah.
do. And so, yeah, and of course, at that time, music was also picking up. I had to give it more time. I love filmmaking as much as I love music, but filmmaking also takes a lot of time, and music is
Yeah.
still like you're doing it, and also you're in the process of it. Like you make a song, you perform, and that is also part of it. Filmmaking is not like that. There's a lot of pre-production that goes into, there's a lot of time that you need to put on ground, and of course the whole production part of it takes a lot of time. So I could not
Yeah.
give it that much time. But in between, I did a project called the Pada Project, wherein both my worlds of music and filmmaking came into one place. It was a series of documentation. It's a documentary presentation of young folk artists across India, and I did that. Now I'm working on another project which is called Sadhana, which will talk about few eminent and prominent folk musicians across India, and their journey and their connect with their
Oh.
music and what they want to express through that. So that's another project that I am taking. So far, it's mostly been where music and film also come together. I would love to make a fiction that I'm always thinking of stories, always thinking of characters that I want to show. So
Yeah.
hopefully sometime I will be able to do. But most of my own music videos that I do it myself, and that's my way of being connected with the filmmaking medium also. Also because I can't afford to have another filmmaker and pay them.
And speaking of support system, what kind of support system do you have? Not just on a management front, but also on a family front. How many shows is it that you do these days in a
I don't know,
year?
yeah. Between my two bands, we do at least like in a month, we do minimum of like 4 to 6 shows in a month. So that, I mean, of course, also depends on the season. Like from there are many months we do like 8, 10 shows in a month. Also, there are seasons where we do like hardly
Yeah,
like 2 or 3 shows. So on an average, I would say that much.
yeah, yeah. So that's what 60, 70
Yeah,
shows a
yeah,
year at least. Uh, Not counting the many things
yeah.
in between, performances, small performances or big performances designed to a certain brief. But then the practice sessions, the adapting, the traveling. So how are you? What is your approach to managing such a busy workload?
Like you said, it's not just the show days that you need to count. Like most of the time, if you're
Yeah,
traveling, then you need to add 2 more days, right? So if you're doing, let's say, 50
yeah.
shows in a year, so you need to count at least
Mm.
150
Yeah,
days for that. And
yeah,
sometimes you're also touring. Let's say you're touring with 4 or 5 shows, then you're constantly traveling. So there are months that you are away.
yeah,
I'm fortunate enough to also have a musician as my partner, Bindu Malini, who's a singer herself, and so she understands uh, the whole grind of traveling
mm.
and not being available for each other. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that it's only the two of us. We don't have children,
Yeah,
and also
mm.
I don't have a huge family that I need to be answerable or support. So for me, it's just the two of us that we
Yeah,
need to be connected, and
hmm.
so even in that, it is very difficult. Like I said, she herself is also a musician. She is also constantly traveling, and she has projects that she needs to be available and be hands on. So we are
Hmm.
finding uh, sometimes very challenging to find time for each other. Uh, for example, now I have understood that I need to have a balance of it. I mean, cut back to like
Yeah,
8, 10 years back, I would not even have an idea that I need to take time off. The only thing that I would always talk about and share is only about the band, about my tour, and about my music.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was also very hard for her to understand that this is the. Is there anything else that you
yeah.
want to talk about? Isn't there anything else like that? So now I have,
Yeah. But it's easy to get tunnel vision
yeah,
like
and
that,
you're
right?
also driven. You're passionate about it. So also, for when somebody asks like that, I'm like, what else do I have to talk about? What else do I have to listen about? I mean, this is the only thing that I want to do, and but yeah, over time we've realized that, and um, now I talk less about my band and things, but more about other things that are happening in my head and
Uh,
about the world and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Thank you, Vasu, so much for sharing so generously and taking out this time to talk to us through your busy schedule. It was lovely knowing so much. This was more than what we expected. And all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Aruna, for creating this space and having me on, and having me to express all of what I have in words. So because many a times, even as musicians, no, we are just like going on doing our stuff. Conversations like these help us reflect on, okay, what all have we done, and help us reflect also, and just say, okay, we have done all this, and we can still
Yeah.
continue to keep doing that. So it's not just I mean, these conversations is also motivation for us to say, yes, we need to keep doing this.